it's Chris and Rich from the Foiling Mag doing a deep dive on the Ozone Flow, which has just come out by them as the latest model in their range, pitched as a versatile, go everywhere, do everything wing.
So the Flow has come along to replace the Wasp, I've been reliably informed. So it's quite a compact shape. It's not like the Flux, which is kind of more high aspect. This is much more compact and free ride and surf focused. The build, as with all things Ozone, so Ozone are kind of unique in a way in that they have their own factory in Vietnam, which has been running for over a decade at least, I think. And they are meticulous with their build. So yeah, with the stitching and everything on this, it's an incredibly honest build. So they build on black Dacron with white stitching everywhere. They're not trying to hide anything. If anything, they're trying to highlight their workmanship. It's very honest and a transparent build, I'd say. It's, you know, it's a beautiful thing. So coming from a repair background, I can look at this and look at this closing seam here, and it's got this ultra thick thread. Like, the material choices are really intelligent. I comfortably put myself out there and say it's one of the best builds on the market by a stretch from a reliability point of view. The Flows comes with this extra long front handle here, which gives you a nice bit of control, and there's enough room here to pistol grip it as well. And for a surf focused wing, I think, where you're going to be using it in onshore conditions, that's really important to be able to grip it there.
It's nice, and I find it's big and it's long and it's stiff, but it's not like some wings protruding.
Yeah, it's not sticking out too much, but enough to make it practical and usable. Yeah. When you first inflate this, like one of the standouts for me compared to the rest of the Ozone range is how much canopy tension you have in here. So as soon as you blow it up, it really kind of preloads tension, particularly in this front section here into the canopy. Yeah. And that transfers into a very smooth riding characteristic we found. It
kind of pops, doesn't it? When you pick it up and you grab it, it sort of pops into power. Yeah. And then really fluidly gathers speed and energy as you get going.
Yeah, there's very, very little vibration. They've kind of tempered any vibration in the very high end with two sort of small fiberglass battens in the trailing edge there, which are removable. We generally found this just a real joy to ride.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. It's so well balanced, and I really like how balanced it was in your front and backhand, but also tip to tip. Like, it just feels like a bubble that's kind of sitting there, and you can put it wherever you want to put it.
Yeah. The front handle, they made a really good job of this, and for a wave-focused wing, again, like, super important. And this is nice and stiff, and it's just big enough to get your hand behind comfortably, and it gives you another level of control when it's flagged. And it is immaculately behaved when it's flagged, is it not?
How good was that? Yeah. And whichever angle you're going, like, how did you feel it when you shoot downwind with it?
So I recently, when we filmed, it was quite light wind to start with, and I used a downwind board and a sort of mid-size foil. I think it was around 1,000, and so there was almost no sort of tension or wind to hold this up in any context, and I could chuck it around anywhere. I had the thing fully behind me like Batman, and it trailed like an obedient hound. It was so good.
It just wants to get out of your way. I absolutely love how it behaves, and I find that downwind it's happy to sit down, whereas other wings might try and blow in front of you. But then when you're shooting upwind, it's not kind of trying to drag you off. It's really light, and it slices through the air. And as you do those turns, like, a standout for me was how well you're always making that choice when you wave ride. Are you holding it up and putting a turn under it, especially if it's onshore, or are you dropping it down and going round it? Yeah. And some wings have a preference on kind of how well they behave. Yeah. And this was happy doing either of those motions. Yeah,
it's really, really passive when it's flagged. Comfortable, it's safe to say, I think.
But then that's, of the wave riding as a preference, it excels, and I'd hands down say the best wing Ozone I've ever made, and a standout in the market for how well it behaves when you're on the wave, because you can forget about it. Yeah. But how did you find it with a mindset of like an intermediate rider or a free rider?
Well, absolutely perfect, really. It's very, very difficult to pick holes in this. I think if anything, like its wind range is kind of better in the low to mid end. Like once it gets overpowered, I mean, like any wing, it will get slightly uncomfortable. But like I found it was so kind of positive in its low end and easy to pump up onto foil, I found, definitely. But then when it got to its top, less happy.
Yeah.
I think you started to see the tips flex a bit, but I'm a heavy guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would just downsize.
At that point.
Yeah.
I think what they've done is they've used standard Dacron materials all the way to the end, and they've gone for more durability with this. And I guess if you're the kind of rider that wants to ride fast and lit and loaded into it, your eyes are on their flux.
Yeah.
That's what that's for.
The Flux has a completely different canopy setup. So that has the heavier cloth, whereas this is all 3-core normal Tasian ripstop. And again, in the leading edge, this is a standard Dacron, which is extremely well proven in years of Ozone kite manufacturing.
Yeah.
Valves wise, again, it has the same as the kite, so it's the little red Boston valves, and these are extremely reliable and easy to service and replace.
And finished beautifully. The leash they've put on it. They haven't cut costs and just put a budget one on you're going to want to change. It's a high quality bungee.
Yeah.
A swivel at the top and a really nice belt at the bottom.
Yeah, this belt, so because I had a bit of a shoulder niggle for a while. Like the belt's something I've recently adopted after years of having it on my wrist, like 5 years of riding on my wrist. And particularly for a wave-focused wing like this, having this loose belt which will spin around your waist is a massive bonus, because you can basically do a full 360 and come round, and it's always pointing the right direction.
Yeah.
And then if it does pull, it just goes up to your armpits. So no, it's brilliant, really.
I feel like this is a wing where everyone's going to be happy, and if you're chasing extremities of racing, then you might look elsewhere.
It's not for you. No.
But if you're blasting around, whether you're starting, whether you're blasting around, whether you're into waves, whether you're into freestyle, this is a wing where I think anybody, any level, any discipline is going to jump on it and love it, be happy.
It's extremely versatile, extremely friendly, really well built. There's almost nothing bad to say about it.
Weapon, beauty.
The best wing Ozone have ever made by some margin, I think, for me.
And that's the Ozone Flow.